the last recording front part lagged off a little bit, so I want to make sure we get this going early. So be on your best behavior. You're all on tape now.
Haha. No promises.
Uh-huh. All right, I'm going to mute everyone all, and then we will go ahead and start. So good evening, brothers. Thank you for joining. I appreciate, the second visit of this session. First things first, as we said in the last one, this isn't tiled, so please be courteous, govern yourselves accordingly. The session is recorded. It's currently being recorded right now. Please keep yourself on mute during the presentation. All questions will be used via go ahead and post it in the chat feature, or we'll open up the mics at the end just so everyone can ask questions at the end. There will be a poll here coming at the end of the session, just to kind of gauge like and wanting more of the same content. Please do that before you leave the meeting. Oops, one too many. Damn it. Anyways, so here we have the upcoming, the next 4 sessions coming up, as you can see. At the end, if there is a need for you have comments or suggestions, please submit them through the link, the suggestion form on the Grand Lodge website. And as you can see, our next session is with the Grand Master, who is with us this evening. If you have questions that you'd like to ask, please send them to me so I can start building a list so he can start researching. Since he has nothing else to do, he's going to do research your Masonic questions for you, and then be able to return answers. We also have the Grand Secretary presenting in a week as well, so we'll have a couple Q&A sessions. So with that, we will go to our feature presenter, Worship Master Larry. The floor is yours at this point. I'm going to stop the share. So,
all right, thank you, Jason. I appreciate it. Welcome everybody to Effective Meetings. We're going to try and cover a couple of different areas. 3 things I'd like to talk about this evening. First of all, what bugs you about meetings altogether? Secondly, what can we do to improve meetings? And finally, let's talk a little bit about proper Zoom etiquette. I found a great blog. Actually, it was done on November 27th of 2019, but couldn't be more timely, by a gentleman named Don Montgomery. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that, the 7 points that he came up with to make sure you have great video meetings. First of all, what bugs us about meetings? I don't know what bugs you, but I know what bugs me. When I walk into a meeting that has no clear focus or reason for the meeting, it feels like it's just a waste of time. Anybody ever had that happen? I have, I know that. Sometimes it feels like it's not really a meeting at all. Just a chance to tell everybody some information. Almost like whoever's in charge wants a head count. Let's see who's interested type thing. Sometimes meetings just go too long. Too long is not good. Human beings can only retain attention for so long, and the less interesting the information, it seems, the shorter that the attention span is. Try not to go too long. So let's talk about all 3 of those things. We always seem to meet on each day of the week, the same day of the week, or the same day of the month. Sometimes that seems to be the only focus for the meeting. When we meet on a regular basis, try always to have a reason for being there. If there's no purpose to the meeting, consider not having the meeting. Sometimes, all right, I'm willing to come to a meeting. I know that we should be meeting. but please start or end the meeting on time. How about you? But my time gets squeezed. I have a lot of different things going on. And when I set aside an hour from 7 to 8, because I was told the meeting's going to go from 7 to 8, it would be nice to have it go from 7 to 8. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Sometimes I think that they have a meeting just to see who shows up, who's interested in the work. That's not really the best way to gauge who's interested to begin with, and it's certainly not a good reason for a meeting. As I said before, another thing that really bugs me is when I walk into a meeting, it feels like it's not really a meeting at all. It's just a chance to tell everybody some information. Sometimes it feels like it's just a daily or weekly or monthly chore to show up for this meeting. Again, I was in sales for many years, and I worked for a sales manager for a while who would call a meeting at 7:45 every morning. I'm pretty sure the only reason they had that meeting was because he had to be to work at 7 and he wanted to make sure every salesman was on the floor by 8. So he figured 7:45 because he sure didn't have a lot to say sometimes. It was not a real way to get your salespeople motivated in the morning. Sometimes meetings can take time that could put to better use if we just think about it for a minute. It's not really a meeting. How else might we be able to get the information out and maybe make better use of that time? We'll talk about that in a minute. Sometimes meetings just go too long. Why is that? Oh, by the way, I'm sorry, I forgot to even introduce myself. I'm Larry Lyman. I'm the Worshipful Master of Winona Lodge number 18, also a member of the Grand Lodge Leadership Committee, and I guess that's what put me on this dais tonight. So my apologies. Always remember to start the meeting appropriately. I should have. That's an example of one of the things that drives me nuts is when somebody's speaking and I don't know who the hell they are. You know, I bet that bothers you a little bit too. Why is this guy talking to me? Don't spend too much time on the topic though. That was plenty of time for me to introduce myself. I wouldn't have wanted to go much longer than that because I have to value your time with other things to talk about. What do you do though if we get to that situation where we have a topic that is going to be lengthy, it is going to be challenging, that is going to take some time? Well, if we're in the middle of a stated communication and we know that's going to happen, is it possible to table that subject, maybe defer it to a committee for consideration, and then at the appropriate time, maybe the next stated communication, bring it back off the table? Allow the larger to go on separately so that the stated communication, everyone is on a better time track. Just a possibility. It can cause meetings to go too long. I'm sure you probably have never had this happen. You start out talking about a great idea. We're going to have fish fries starting next week, Friday, and we're going to make a lot of money for the lodge. And 20 minutes later, that same discussion is talking about last weekend. And what should have been a 10-minute conversation to assign a committee to decide what we're going to serve, where we're going to serve it, and for how long. We'll do a real good conversation about fishing, but not much about frying fish. So be careful that your discussions don't go off topic. That does make meetings go about one last thing before we go into what we can do to improve. That last thing that has to do with problems in meetings is there's no relationship building. Have you sat in a stated communication, maybe in your own lodge or maybe in someone else's lodge, had the feeling that as a sideliner, it doesn't really matter if you're there or not. You're just another wheel in the cog or whatever. always make sure if you're the person hosting the meeting, let others know that they are important. We are a brotherhood. And each time we come together, hopefully we all remember we're a brotherhood. We all get the feeling that we're a brotherhood. And each of us is reminded of that by each other. That's a big part of why we have stated communications. But let's talk now about what we can do to improve meetings altogether. The first thing I would suggest is have an agenda for your meeting. The agenda provides the focus for the meeting. It allows your officers to know what's coming in advance. It also allows them, if they see a problem in the agenda or an opportunity in the agenda, say, Master, you might want to tweak your agenda here or there. Or this subject may take a little longer than you thought it was going to. Maybe we should assign that to a committee before we bring it before a stated communication. Or as we bring it to the stated communication, maybe we should be prepared to assign a committee. Always a good idea to have an agenda. The agenda also keeps you on a timeline. Always remember, if you have a communication where there is no urgency to any particular topic, fellowship to strengthen the brotherhood can be a good focus for a meeting. I have here in my own lodge, from time to time, when we've had a very brief agenda I knew we were going to be able to get through very quickly, I have turned to my marshal and said, Brother Marshal, will you escort brother such and so to the west of the altar? I want to tell you, when there's a sideliner sitting over there, and that person I've seen in 3 different voluntary positions, work on 3 different projects without recognition, and suddenly at a stated communication, the master of the lodge stops the meeting, asks the marshal to bring him over to the west of the altar, and I present him with a coin that simply says, I know I always have a brother. And it has a square and compass on it. I guarantee you that guy's going to show up for the next meeting. Why? Because my focus was on brotherhood, and he was the focus of the brotherhood that night. Not a bad thing to keep in your quiver if you want. It's a good arrow once in a while. If there's not another good focus, don't try to invent one. Just understand. Use what we have, and that's the brotherhood. Focus on it. Always remember to begin and end on time. One of the first questions I asked Jason before we started tonight was, how long do I have? How long do you want me to have? And I will stay in the timeline he gave me, not the timeline that Shannon Krecklaw gave me. Although I'll probably stay pretty close to that one, maybe too. But begin on time and end on time. Have you ever interrupted what you were doing to come to a stated communication on time, only to find that people are talking and gathering 10 minutes after it was supposed to start, and you gave up something else that was equally important in your mind or in your personal life to be there on time? Respect your brother's time. It's the one thing you can't give them any more of. You can't buy another minute. So respect that. End on time. If I say this meeting will end at 8 p.m., most people that have worked with me for a while understand at 8:05, probably going to be able to leave because I'm going to be done. So it's very important in my world, respect everyone's time. We right now have the most worshipful master, grandmaster, watching. You think I want to spend 1 extra minute of that guy's time? He doesn't have it to give away, and yet he does anyway. I respect that. And any one of you other brothers that's out there, whether it's Chuck Bruss or Dayton, Adam, any of you, I assume could find other things to do with the time right now. So we're going to respect that and continue to move. Wise man some years ago named Stephen Covey, I got to meet and got to learn a little bit about, corresponded with him for a while before he passed. One of the things he said that's always stuck with me, especially about meetings, begin with the end in mind, and then share your intent. Begin with the end in mind means you know where you're going. You have a purpose to this meeting, and you know how you're going to get there. Share your intent with your officers. The senior warden and junior warden should both know the agenda before you ever get started. So should your secretary and treasurer. Email the information and meet and discuss with brothers if you have to ahead of the meeting to clear up details that maybe you can clear up before you ever get into the state of communication. That will save you some time. Always remember, involve as many brothers as you can appropriately for whatever discussion is going to be on the agenda. Follow proper etiquette. If a financial issue is to be discussed, would you forget to tell the treasurer in advance? I hope not. Always follow proper etiquette. Set time limits for comments if you have to. I have been known to use a timekeeper. I know that we do in the leadership committee, and it's important and it's useful. I don't know anything that we can see that is so important in a state of communication that you can't comment on it in 3 minutes or less. If you need more than 3 minutes to make a single comment about something, you haven't thought it through enough, or it's so involved and complex, it shouldn't be discussed at the state of communication. It needs some discussion outside the state of communication. Summarize your comment, get it out there, and then suggest this is more complex than we have time for. Could we take this to a committee? Use a timekeeper, like I said. When you're done, finish appropriately. I have actually been at a lodge where it got to be that time of day when we were past the 8 o'clock, we were past the 9 o'clock, and now we're almost at 9:30. And the master said, boy, this has been a long meeting. Oh, we're done. Don't do that. What does that say to a young, new Master Mason about the importance of the ceremony, the ritual, the tradition? Always plan to begin and end appropriately. And then I always recommend ahead of the meeting, especially state of communications, and after, if you can, allow some time for fellowship. We are, after all, Masons. And what makes us Masons is the fact that we work together. We get to know each other. Finally, I'd like to talk about Zoom etiquette for just a minute. As I said, John Montgomery, a gentleman who does blogs, on November 27th, in advance of the COVID outbreak, without realizing where Zoom was going to go, gave 7 great tips for video meetings. Number 1, make sure everyone knows who the other participants are. Number 2, check your background. We saw this, my wife and I saw this and laughed about it on a Facebook post that someone had regarding this subject. There was a gentleman who was sheltering in place. He had a business meeting he had to lead. So he put on his suit, tie, looking good, talking into the camera, forgot that his wife had a full-length mirror behind him, and he wasn't wearing pants. Now, I would hope that none of us would make that mistake, but you might want to check your background. Always a good idea not to have mirrors behind you. Look into the camera. If you can, that's your audience. Your audience is over there. Your audience isn't over there. It's right here. It's a little different because I know when I speak publicly, I like to scan the room. Well, if I scan the room here, I'm not going to see very many people. Y'all are right here in front of me. So make sure of your video and audio settings before you get to the meeting. In other words, I had asked Jason specifically if he would start about 10 minutes of 7 with me, just to make sure my levels were correct. Eliminate any distractions that you might have. You notice I don't have any children here, no pets. There's no brass band practicing behind me. Focus is on the meeting when you're, especially a Zoom meeting type thing. Only invite people who need to be at the meeting if you're doing a business type Zoom meeting. Finally, the host should stick around after the meeting. Let people leave at their own pace, because some people may want to ask you a question, but they don't want to ask it in front of everybody else that's in the Zoom process. Finally, as relates to us, when we're doing our stated communication, I want to remind masters that this is about his duty to run his stated communication properly. Don't forget, as master, you have a gavel and you have the right to control your meeting, and you have the responsibility to control your meeting. So always do so. With that, I've talked long enough. According to my clock, I've talked just about what Jason asked me to. And so I'm going to be quiet and ask if there are questions.
Silence. Wow.
Yeah, Shannon's sitting there going, I've never heard Larry that quiet. So,
Well, that's because we're usually used to you answering questions that you're already asking of yourself, Larry. So I was waiting for that to just naturally start coming.
well, one thing I did not point out, you know it because we work together a lot on this sort of medium, is if you wear glasses and you're going to be working with your monitor right in front of you, realize your glasses will bounce the light.
Yep.
If I put my glasses on, it can be distracting. That's why I'm not wearing them right now. Praise the Lord, I don't have to read very much. So there you go.
Unless you have cool glasses like I do. See?
I don't. I'm sorry. I'm such a nerd that way. I just have regular old glasses.
I do like the reference though that you made about the master and taking that charge. It's something that we've had a lot of discussion and see is one of the things our incoming masters have to have a little better understanding and perhaps need some guidance in, is that encouragement that it is your meeting. It does kind of revolve around you. So, you get that 1 year, you get that opportunity. Your time's extremely valuable, and remember how valuable the brothers are. And that's I guess one of the best lessons of that 24-inch gauge. So yeah, thanks for bringing that to the forefront.
You bet. I know that I have seen past masters with a new master, maybe a younger guy, maybe someone out a lot of experience, feel that they need to insert themselves to maybe help him along. You don't think it's anything out of anger, spite, jealousy, or anything else. I think they're honestly trying to be helpful. They don't allow the young guy to find his way. Well, part of what we are about is learning.
Mhm.
Sometimes the best lessons are learned by making mistakes.
Mhm.
I taught air traffic controllers for a lot of years and in real life settings. And I'll tell you what, if you want to see somebody make mistakes, give somebody a microphone and tell them they have to work in 3 dimensions with things that are moving towards each other at 300 or 400 mile an hour. And you have less
Yeah.
than 3 or 4 seconds to make a decision. And I always would tell the new trainee, you cannot make a mistake. I'm signed on with you. All you can do is make an error in judgment. And don't worry, I'm good enough, I'll take care of it. And I always did. But I wanted them to go ahead and make those mistakes.
Mhm.
Likewise, I want our new masters to go ahead, make a mistake. If you do, I may take you aside after the meeting and say, that could have gone better if we'd done this or that. And I'm proud of you for hanging in there and going through it and doing it your way. But always remember, that gavel is yours. Don't let somebody else on the sidelines run your meeting for you. You run it. Told you I wasn't going to say anything else.
So somebody asked about texting and Zoom. You wanna-
Texting is something I'm getting used to. I'm not used to it. I'm used to telephone calls. I grew up in a day and age when to make a contact with someone away from my house, I picked up a telephone that was hardwired to the wall. And I said, Mrs. Johnson, could you get off the phone so I can call someone, please? And I waited for the party line to go dark, and then I'd go ahead and call whoever I wanted. Then I moved up to the process where I had a hardwired phone that I didn't have to ask anybody to get off the phone. I could
Yay.
call them. That was great. And now I had this big phone that didn't even have a wire and I could talk. Now I have this thing. Wow. And if somebody tells me something I doubt, I can go on this thing. It's a computer too. I can find out they were lying to me or they were telling me the truth. And now everybody says, send me a text. Oh man. You know,
No. Oh,
Shannon will tell you, I'm kind of a verbal sort of guy. I like to talk. But I am learning. I am learning how to text. On Zoom, we've already covered a lot of different points on what to do when you're Zooming. There are a couple things that I didn't mention that I think are also good tips. Don't eat while you're Zooming. Because you know what? We can watch you eat and we're all going to get hungry. Be aware of your body language. You're sitting there like this. You know, the speaker is going to notice that maybe. And be respectful of others. Watch your language. Think before you speak. So and try not to be offensive. Act as though you're in lodge and you'll be fine. I'm not sure if that answers the whole question, but hopefully it helps.
I actually don't think it was a question. They were chatting back and forth, but I figured it was a good question anyway.
Oh, I see. You got it. Okay, well, that's cool.
All
Paul's
right.
getting no reason.
Hey, JJ, how you doing?
Nice.
All right. Anybody else got questions they want to ask?
No, that was extremely, nothing for me. That was extremely helpful. A lot of good stuff.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Good job, Larry. Pardon my ignorance, please, but I don't know the names of two of the guys that are on Mentoring Committee and Leadership Minnesota Grand Lodge. My apologies. I don't know your names.
Well, that's because we're secret. So, you know, it is society. So
I'm allowed to release that information at the end of my term here.
So my name is Worship Brother Jason Lang. I am the chairman for the Mentoring Committee.
Hey, good evening, Brother Paul. I'm Shannon Krecklaw, the chairman for the Leadership Committee for Grand Lodge.
I apparently made the mistake that Larry talked about and didn't introduce myself in the beginning. So I will have to make notes of those things again going forward.
And the man leads by example. What more do you want?
I try. All right. So thank you, Larry. That was well done.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Again, just another reminder of the schedule coming up. Larry will be doing this again here coming again in May. So please come attend if you want. These are recorded, so we will have the recording up as soon as I figure out how that exactly works. So with that, that is kind of the end of the slide. I'm going to, in true Masonic fashion, leave the last word for the Grand Master.
Whoa.
Thank you. It's really an opportunity for me to say, to give a whole bunch of thanks. Thanks to Shannon and Larry and the Leadership Committee. Thanks to Jason for setting this up. Thanks to Keith, really, our Grant Secretary. Our hope this year, his hope this year, was that you would have left the Grant Communication outraged because there would have been so many breakout sessions you couldn't attend them all. So this is a wonderful opportunity to bring those here. So thank you for that.
Thank you, most worshipful. And the poll is open, and that is our evening. Thank you, gentlemen, for attending. Please submit the poll before you go. Oh, you don't get to talk. Grand Master's already been spoken.
Oh.
Kidding.
Sure.
Go ahead.
When are those other two, the kind of the secret ones? Will those have links to them so we can sign up?
They're coming up. I'll be doing it tomorrow.
Okay,
So.
right on. Excellent. That was it for me.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night, people.
Good night.
Be safe, brothers.